All right, guys, kind of an interesting week here on the Pocket Change Market Report. I'm going to share a little bit of data that I've personally uncovered. As to no big surprise, there are a few coins that we're beginning to see some sort of downward pressure on them, okay? And I knew it was going to happen. And I kind of think this is more akin to what a summer market looks like in the in numismatics, so both coins and currency. But not everything's affected yet. All right, where there's certain coins that we're seeing some pretty healthy adjustments. Well, we're talking anywhere from 25 to 40% drop-offs from what they've normally sold at, say as recently as 2 weeks ago. So this is quite interesting. A few of the coins that are being affected, from what I've seen, are some of the minor off-center and broad-struck coins, most notably the date range of 1998 to 2001. We've seen plenty of those. They were found in pretty large quantities back in the day because they were being pulled out of mint-sewn bags. So we're seeing tremendous downward pressure on those coins. I've probably seen within just the last 36 to 48 hours, probably a good dozen of these coins. And, you know, it used to be you could always rely on an $8 to $15 sale price on a lot of these coins of this date range, but now they've slipped and slide all the way down to about $3 to $5. All right, so again, large supplies of this particular 4-year set for those particular errors, and we're, you know, it's kind of like the first cracks in the armor that we're seeing. Other coins that are being affected are some of the more modern, kind of like within the last like year or two date of coins. Most specifically, what I've seen, a lot of the brand new 2022 American Women's Series of errors, which includes those drooling die chips, so the ones on the corner of the mouth of Washington on the obverse, those have dipped all the way down as low as about $1 or $2 because they are just that common. But also, surprisingly, some of those field restricted strike throughs that I've talked about a few weeks ago as being something rather notable. Man, those things have dipped in price all the way down to about $5 to $10. Sometimes I've even seen 1 or 2 listings that have gone as far down as $3 to $4. These at one point were selling reliably over $20, $30. There were a few that have kind of touched a little bit higher price. That seems a little bit more abnormal, but given the size of the strike through on them, it's understandable. I think there was one example that sold for around $40, $45. I didn't even bother to add that into the report, but there was that one kind of strange anomaly in there. But you know, the size of the strike through certainly warranted the price value. But yeah, $5 to $10, and then finally, the brand new, recently attributed 2022 Lincoln Shield Cent with the Clash Die error. Those are now officially down to around $15. All right, those, again, as recently as 2 weeks ago, you could reliably get around $30 for those coins. Because of bigger supply, more people are finding these. Again, we're seeing kind of like that adjustment that you would expect, not only because of increased supply into the marketplace, but because we are hitting the summer, what I like to call numismatic doldrums. Okay, and this is like a completely normal cycle for the market prior to about 2020. So if we kind of like stepped outside of the pandemic period where everybody was buying everything under the sun, that inflated the values over the course of 2 years unsustainably, there's going to be some areas where they're going to ultimately correct in a big way. All right, probably borderline crash in certain cases. However, we have a pretty deep list of other coins that have hit pretty big milestones on this report. Coins, again, that are ungraded. These are all raw. You don't need to spend that kind of money to grade these coins. And there's actually been a number of rather minor coins that were in NGC and PCGS slab holders that really did not command too much more than what a raw coin would go for. Okay, you guys can always go back within the last 12 to 24 hours and see a bunch of off-center struck Lincolns and Jefferson nickels that have sold right around like $50 to $100. And I think to myself, well, they didn't need to grade that. So a lot of money left on the table there. But, you know, it's just, it's amazing. You know, as much as I talk about it, there's still this love affair for grading. Hopefully you guys checked out my video. They're going through a lot of issues right now with the overall quality control of the grading process and not being able to help out the customers that send them these submissions, or, you know, either issuing refunds or offering to rectify situations where they have to, you know, get re-slabbed or labeled. Yeah, they're going through some stuff right now, and the turnaround times are insanely long. All right, so we're going to go ahead and dive right in. Again, all original photos from their respective listings. This is, you know, sorry about the long, kind of drawn out beginning to this video. You guys could have, you know, advanced forward to the beginning of the report, but there was some pretty important information that you guys need to know about. If you have some of these coins that are kind of on that drop list, you can either hold on to them or just sell them, all right? Because you're still guaranteed some sort of money for them today. If you wait too much longer, the market may drop even more. So you just never know. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Thank you guys again for joining in on this Pocket Change market report for June 15th. This is our midweek edition. We're going to show off one coin here from Jim on eBay, 1944S, Lincoln Wheat Cent, a rather nice specimen here. You know, kind of like a median mid-state grade, I would say, but most importantly, this is a repunch mint mark. This is RPM number 9, and you can see the doubled serif at the bottom of the S in addition to that extra curl of the S. Of course, this is going to be a variety that's much easier to identify on a coin that is in much higher condition. So anything lower than, I'd say, about uncirculated, you're going to have a hard time seeing that secondary curl because it's so tight against the original S. So this one right here is a good one. This one ended up selling for $28.90. So a good way to start it out with an RPM that I don't think I've ever talked about on the PCMR. But again, not many people searched through San Francisco 1944s because folks are under the impression there's nothing to look for. But this is a good one to look for. Our subject coin of the week has been one that has sold quite a bit in the last, I would say, 30 days. People are still finding these. I've come to the conclusion, not recently, but probably a few years ago, because I own a few of these myself, in around this kind of condition. But these are quite common, all right? So it's a 1954. This is an over mint mark, an S over D. So it features both a San Francisco and a Denver mint mark. If you look at these close-ups here, you can actually see the bottom part of the D poking through the bottom of that S curl there. This is incredibly distinguishable variety. I mean, you would certainly still need a magnifier or something to get in close to make sure. If you guys don't have a tool like that, you need to get one. I do have some available down below in the description box of my video for relatively cheap. You know, you can get one for around $6 to $10. So if you don't have one, yeah, I don't know what to say. You're not going to have too much luck going through and finding some of these varieties and errors. This coin right here, in this condition, always a perennial all-star on the PCMR. This one sold for $19.99. So again, a coin with a lot of value and still a popular variety. All right, we have a brand new 2022. This is actually pretty neat. Now, this is going to be one of those classic cases where you must study the coin all around because you just never know what you're going to find. So, brand new Philadelphia minted shield cent. This one has a rim to device die crack right here on the reverse. So it's on the right side of this ribbon where it says 1 cent. And then on the obverse, you have a pretty nice interior die crack or die break right in the hairline of Mr. Lincoln there. This one right here is sold for $12.50. Oh, that's a surprising one. With 11 total bids. So there were a few parties interested, bid it up to this amount. And, you know, if you absolutely need one, you know, there are some that will sell out there. Not a lot of people are actually looking for this. They're looking for some of the more marquee errors like strike throughs and things of that nature. Oh, another good one here. I found a few of these in back in the day, and you know, if you go through the volume of Lincoln Weed Cents like I do, like I go through bulks of them, bags upon bags of them. This is a 1940s Lincoln Weed Cent that exhibits a pre-cut or a retained die break. So when we get in close here on the reverse, but before I do that, note the condition. This thing has been beat up. It's got a lot of damage and dings. The coin even looks like it's been cleaned. But when you come in close here to the wheat stock, you see a noticeable die crack that goes rim to rim through the design. And that's kind of like one of the things you need to look for on a pre-cut. Not to mention displacement. So the displacement of the design is going to be crucial for being able to diagnose a pre-cut. This one right here, even in this condition, sold for $13.06 with 4 bids. Now, this one was sold as a fancy serial number. So this is a 5 of a kind. So it has 5 threes in it. It's on a brand new 2017 A $1 bill. And it's also a star note. Now, me personally, this is not something that I would look at and say, yeah, I have to absolutely keep this. Now, the reason why I would keep it is that it's a star note. All right. And I like to bundle up star notes in $100 increments. They're easier to sell, and you can make quite a bit of money doing that. But someone recognized that to them, this is a fancy serial number. You know, looking at it, it's quite neat, actually. I mean, you got 0, 1, 2, and a bunch of threes. Condition-wise, you can see that it has circulated a little bit, but you're never going to believe how much this sold for. It ended up selling for $22.49. With 10 bids. Again, there were a number of bidders that shared in the sentiment of this fancy serial number, albeit a minor one. Goes to show you, if it's neat, pull it out, sell it, make yourself 10, 20 bucks, and be a hero. The next one that we have here, again, on another brand new 2017 A series. Now, I say 2017 A, but this is the most recent printing. All right, so they'll print these until the next changeover of the Secretary and Treasury individuals. So this one right here, if you look at the reverse of the note, and this is kind of like an issue that I've seen in the BEP production of the newer notes, especially $1 bills, insufficient inking. So it didn't have a completely wet ink on the reverse of that note right there. Pretty easy to see there. It's extra light and splotchy. This one sold for $29.80. Again, a more minor error, but when you identify things like this, they're worth so much more than $1. So make sure you're looking out for them. And then our last note in this little set here is a 1988A $10 Federal Reserve note. This one is a small head design, so we don't see this too often, but this is actually a pretty good one. And you don't see this kind of error show up on the much newer notes. Because of the different presses that they're using, the cope and then the LEPE type of presses kind of change the game a little bit. But this one has a pretty significant solvent smear on the reverse, or an ink smear, however you want to classify it as. This note right here, pretty nice condition, sold for $105.95. All right, so we're back to some coins. So we have a 1969D 50-cent piece. This Caddy $half, of course, is a clad silver 40% piece. And it's in really nice shape. But you'll see that it has a pretty substantial, what they call sheet end clip. So this planchet was clipped out of the end of that sheet or strip. And yeah, this one's pretty significant. Nice straight clip there. And it's really in nice shape. This one sold for $21.50 with 4 bids on there. All right, nothing really to write home to mother about, but when you find one of these, you kind of feel like an all-star. It's a 2005 P West Virginia Statehood quarter that has one of those Cud die breaks that you like to find on here. Now, you can find these on Colorado. You can also find them on South Dakota, I believe, among a few other designs. But this one right here, you can see that Cud right next to the word new. It's a raised blob of metal, which means that the set of dies that were striking these, one of them had a little bit of a break and a piece had fallen off. So generally with any coin struck after that piece that had fallen out will turn into just a void. All right, and it's raised on there. This coin right here sold for $10.07 with 4 bids. Keep in mind and note the condition. This thing is pretty rough. It's been around the block a few times. Here's a 1955 Lincoln wheat cent that exhibits a pretty good clip right there. What I like most about this, even though the clip is kind of small, you do have a pretty nice sized Blakesley effect on the opposite side of the coin. So you have some general weakness, a little flattening of the rim. And that can be seen on both the obverse and the reverse of the coin. You can actually see it right above the word unum right there. This one sold for $13.46. A mighty fine, amount of money considering the grade. It's not mint state or red or anything like that. It's just a really good problem-free coin. All right, big time alert for all you silver gatherers out there. So, my fellow stackers, if you're not looking through your silver for varieties and errors on Morgans and peace dollars, most notably VAM varieties, you're going to be missing out. Now, this is an error here. It's a 1904 O, so it's a New Orleans minted Morgan dollar. When you flip it around, on a coin turn, it's got actually about a 35-degree counterclockwise rotated die error. Pretty neat. This is a coin, again, that oftentimes you don't need to grade, although having it in a graded holder will help image the actual rotation on there. Plus, you'll see the error attributed on the label. Now, it's going to be up to you if you, trust yourself in using a third-party grader today with all the quality control stuff going on. But a really good solid sale here at $163.50 with 7 bids. Always be on the lookout through your scrap silver for things like this. You would believe how much value it would add to a coin. Okay, well, here's one of those very commonly found off-center or broad-struck era of Lincoln sets. This is a 2000, all right? So this is a very common error to find for this date. One of the coins that have certainly, gotten hit upside the head as far as value here in the last 10 to 14 days. This one right here was noted as being broad-struck, which is close. I think there's a little bit of a rim that goes nearly around. It's not, it's close, but this one right here, as you can tell, based off value, have certainly dropped. Price with shipping ended at $6.43 with 4 bids, so it was actually bid up to that amount. All right, one of my favorite things to look out for, cherry pick. I love cherry picking these more so than buying them. I think there's a lot to be said with being able to identify a really big variety out of Buffalo nickels, but this is a 1918 Buffalo that is a 2-feather variety. So the 3rd feather was abraded away, which is normally right here in this area. It's missing. All right. So yeah, overpolished die. We'll attribute that. Even has a little bit of a clash right here above the word unum. So you can just see that raised sunken die appearance there. This one right here is one of your tougher dates for a 2-feather, and this one sold for $175. A really spectacular sale. All right, we got Walking Liberty half dollar. This time a good old 1920. Not a date that you typically see with any sort of error, but this one here has a little bit of a rim clip. You can see that right here, and on the reverse you can see a little bit of the Blakesley, so this area is flat, or right here rather. But this one right here sold for $20.50 with 2 bids. Again, based off of the condition of the coin, this is more kind of like bulk silver value. So this person had made 3x silver melt value, maybe just a little bit more, you know, on this, finding this one error here. Not too bad. Well, it was bound to come up, but we do have $100 face value of star notes. All right, so this was probably assembled by someone looking for the 2013 B duplicates printed serial number stars. So these are the rest of them. All right, so we have $100 face of relatively newer star notes from like 2013 and 17 and 17A series. If you're looking to move a lot of your bulk star notes, this is a good way of doing it rather than selling them individually. This pack right here sold for around double face value. $204.98 is where this one sold at. When you crunch the numbers, it's about a $70 to $75 profit. So I would take that all day long on some bulk star notes. It's just by far the easiest way to liquidate these. All right, we got another piece of currency here. This time a 1988A series $1 bill. You know, and nothing really to note on the front. The note is exceptionally clean. I would say this is probably a crisp, uncirculated specimen. But we do have a partial, very, very light front to back wet ink transfer. So the impression cylinder probably had a little bit of remnants of some sort of contact print. That's where the impression cylinder and the printing plates make contact. It's kind of like a paper equivalent to a clash die, you know, if that makes sense. But yeah, a little bit of a light shadowy print over here. That's just a really small piece. It's quite notable. This one right here sold for $32.95. It's quite light and very small. The 100% wet ink transfers can go as high as $100 to $200 on these. Whoa, this thing is fuzzy. And yeah, make sure you clean the lens of your photographic device. All right, it'll eliminate some of the kind of like this this fuzzy whitening that you see here on this one. But we have a kind of like a fold over, you know, pre-print area here. So there was a corner fold, and then the note was printed over, so it leaves a void there. Again, just be wary that these are out there. This one is quite minor, so I would assume that maybe a dealer would overlook something like this, because to them, they just see a $1, you know, silver certificate. To them, it's worth about $2 or $3 as a resale. But yeah, pretty neat, tiny minor error. This one sold for $80. So tiny error, but big money. Always a good one to look for. There's the back of the note, and yeah, a few folds in there, so it's a decent shape, but it's not a gem. All right, so here's another one of the coins that have dropped off here in the last few weeks. This is a 2019 Lincoln Shield Cent with the field restricted strike through. Now, to a lot of people that collect into this type of strike through, which there's been a myriad of them, this is probably more of the minor side. All right, so this is a minor field restricted strike through. You can see that here right by the date and underneath Lincoln's chin area. This one sold for $8. This used to be double that amount as recently as a couple weeks ago. So again, more market movement here. Here's a 1982p Cherry Picker's Guide Variety Caddy $1/2. This one is the missing initials reverse, so no FG right in this area here. Either, you know, kind of like over abraded dies or fill dies or strike through of some sort. This one right here, again, another coin to look out for you folks that blow through just massive amounts of Caddy $1/2. If you're not looking for these, you're basically throwing money away. All right, this one sold for $8.99. The last time I checked is, you know, that one's slightly a little bit more than a traditional 90% silver half melt value. Pretty cool one here, 1983p Jefferson nickel with a obverse, pretty nice sized cut die break. You can see it over the word trust, that raised area there. This one is in really nice shape too. I'll go out on a limb and say it's probably mint state. This one ended up selling for $51.30 with 5 bits. Cuds still doing great in this market. And here's a pretty nice 2000p Virginia Statehood quarter, which at first glance looks to be an off-center strike, but look closer. You notice on the front of the coin, the obverse, that it's really not off-center at all, just the back. So we have a exceptionally rare misaligned dies error. So that reverse die was a little bit loose or jostled, so when it strikes other coins, there's always a chance that's going to shift a little bit during the striking action, which leaves one side to be completely off-center in relation to the other side of the coin. Coin's in great shape. It does have a little bit of a fingerprint on the obverse, but that's not going to really push people away that wants, a really rare error. This one right here sold for $60. That's a really good amount of money for this. Again, showing that there are just not a lot of these in the market to fulfill demand. Now, we've had quite a bit of currency. We have a 1985 $1 bill, another one to add to the list for the PCMR for the week. So what do we have here for this one? Probably something that we saw earlier in the show, and that's a Insufficient Ink Reverse. You can see that there on the left side of the note, just ran out of ink. Yeah, and that's what you get. A otherwise probably more spectacular looking insufficient ink error compared to that 2017 that we saw previous. This one sold for $43. All right, not too bad. Wow, this thing's circulated quite a bit. Kind of hard to circulate when it just pops out right at you, but it's a 1980 Lincoln Memorial with an indent and a partial brockage. So this puppy right here was struck with another Lincoln cent that was already struck, overlapping it. So 2 coins overlapping each other, 1 coin overlapping a blank planchet, and then during the strike will transfer some of the details onto the indent area there. And so you can see like the word in, like, was it NE and 1. Pretty nice. And again, I can't believe this thing circulated to this level before it was eventually found out and pulled out and saved. This one right here sold for $49.09 with 10 bids. The seller did not specify a partial brockage. This thing probably would have gone to the moon a little bit more if that was in the actual description, because brockages are very, very desirable in today's error market. You just don't see decent ones come out lately. A little bit tougher date for this error, 1967 Lincoln Memorial with a straight clip. All right, so that's what we have here. Coin's in really phenomenal shape, probably pulled out of a BU roll at one point. $12 sale right here on this one. Probably one of the best like close-up images of the edge of a clip that I've seen in quite some time. You can see the absence of a proto rim that kind of just dissipates as it gets closer to the clip. Always something to look out for in addition to the Blakesley effect. Now this one was originally pitched as misaligned dies, and boy is a minor. It's a 2020 West Point Marsh Billings Rockefeller, already on its own a very valuable coin. Okay, there's a lot more desirability for this one compared to any other 2020 West Point quarter. These have always sold for between $30 and $40, but this one does have just a slightly misaligned die. It's really so minor that most error collectors won't really put this one on the error pedestal, so to speak. This one right here sold for $40.65 with 17 bids. Again, that's probably more just the actual date and the ATB design leading the value on this one, and less about the error. Now, this is a much tougher off-center struck Lincoln than it appears. It's a 1975 Lincoln Memorial. Struck off-center by about 55–60%, somewhere in that area. And the coin is in relatively good shape. This is more of your key date that off-center Lincoln date collectors look for. This one right here sold for $40. So again, if you're coming across like maybe a coin shop or a show and they don't deal in errors, but yet they have something like this for around 20 bucks, keep in mind it's a pretty good pickup. Any off-center strikes from like 1971 all the way up to 1979 are actually hot commodities these days. Yeah, pretty easy to see here for this 1947 S. This one has a pretty nice sized strike through on the reverse. Right there to the left of one and right on top of the left wheat stalk. So there was, you know, some ball or paste or grease or something with some debris mixed in. So when the coin was struck and this stuff was on the die, it's going to leave a nice pocket in there. This one sold for $36 with 7 bids. And I think a lot of that has to do with the condition. It is dynamite. Oh boy, Drummer Boy quarter with a clip. And it's not a small one too. This is a pretty nice sized one for this coin. Errors plus Bicentennial Coins, specifically the Washington Quarter Drummer Boy Reverse. When you add those two and you mix them in a bowl together, it's a recipe for success. This one right here ended up selling for $24.99. Again, clips are more the minor side of errors, but when you add it to a desirable design type, you know, it really turns it up a notch or two. All right, not the prettiest example, but this is a beautiful 1984 Lincoln Memorial cent with a huge cut, you know, right over the word Liberty and part of the motto there. Yeah, pretty well circulated. And always want to look out for. This is nothing that you should ever throw back for any reason. This one sold for $54.95. Here's another nice Lincoln Memorial. This time we have a 1977. Off-center, I would say about 50%-ish, somewhere around there. Another tougher date. Kind of wish there was more of the date on there. I think that would have helped the sale a little bit more. But this one sold for $37.88. Again, it's right during that date range where these coins are a little bit more scarce for these error collectors. And then, again, we have another 1979p, Susan B. Anthony dollar. This one is broad struck, a little bit off-center. But also note the amount of scratches on there, too. All right, so the scratches definitely detract from the coin. But how to do value-wise? Actually, not too bad. $88.80 is where this one ultimately sold at. And really nice-looking coin. Man, it's too bad it had the scratches. I'm sure this would have been like a $100, $150 coin without those. But I don't know. There you go. And another one for you prospectors out there of silver. This is a good one. It's a 1900p Morgan dollar. Rather, you know, plentiful date to find, and especially in higher grades. But this one, you can see a lot of weakness in the strike. This one was struck through some grease, and you can see even a little bit on the reverse as well. So some general weakness all around. But the astute collectors, they find and sniff coins like this out, recognizing that they have a lot more value than just silver mount value. This one right here sold for $105.24. With 2 bids off of this condition, it was probably a $40 coin to begin with. It's marginally mid-state, a little bit of wear on the obverse there, but there you go. Another good error to look out for, one that's minor enough that usually slips through people's fingers when they're cherry picking these. All right, 2 more coins left. All right, so some of those other errors have certainly dropped, some of the more minor ones. But how are we looking for coins like this? This is a 2021 Tuskegee Airman with the field restricted strike through on the reverse there, right on the building. Again, another beautiful, fantastic, visually appealing coin. These are going to age incredibly graceful. And this one right here, no exception. It's a pretty decent condition coin as well. This one sold for $122.61. So it's always good to see that kind of sale on these while all the others have kind of faltered a little bit. Now, a coin that has enhanced in value by a great deal because there are virtually none of these in the open market. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. They've come, they've had some time in the limelight, and they've disappeared. And then now, any subsequent coins that pop up on occasion will truly show its rarity. So this is a 2021P Lincoln Shield cent with that tremendous retain cut die break on the obverse. You have a lot of weakness on the reverse as well. So this is just a incredible chase find out there in circulation today. If you're still able to grab a hold of some of these rolls, you might have a pretty good chance of finding these. This one right here, you're never going to believe this. Back up in a huge way. Sold for $875. Wow. All right. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. A lot to look forward to, a lot to hunt out there still. Be mindful of some of the coins that have dipped in the marketplace. It's really up to you if you want to sell them. Now, there's always going to be the chance that they will recover. It might take a while. The market has to adjust to what it was 2.5, 3 years ago. That could be a little bit tough. It might be a little bit time intensive because it's not something that we're going to see like 30 days like drop and then bounce back. It doesn't work out that way. That's not the way the coin market operates. All right, it's cyclical and it's long term, so you have to be all in for things like that. But that's going to go ahead and do it, my friends. Coinaholics, I'm your host Sean with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Would love to hear your thoughts. Did you have a favorite coin this PCMR? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this video and channel if you haven't done so already. And I also have a TikTok as well. Come check me out. My name's Blue Ridge Silverhound on there, all one word. We have a few videos up already, but we're going to get more on there for you. Well, that's going to go ahead and do it. Wish you guys the best of luck in all of your hunts, and would love to hear your successful picks here in the near future. Go ahead and post them below if you'd like. All right, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.